a lot of businesses are using QuickBooks.
Uh-huh.
How does QuickBooks and Odoo compare, and
Okay.
can they be integrated? Or
So, when your business is actually growing, and you need a system which can actually entertain all your departments or collect data from all your departments, have reports generated from all those departments. So QuickBooks and Odoo, it's a lot of people actually compare QuickBooks and Odoo, but I would say it's not really comparable because QuickBooks is a dedicated accounting system. But on the other hand, Odoo is a full-fledged ERP system which can actually do everything in your business, right?
so it can do everything that QuickBooks can do as far as
Plus, yes. So look at modules like the POS, right? You have a retail business and you have a store, store pickup and all that. You'll never be able to do that in QuickBooks. But if you have it in Odoo, if you're not using it today, but in future, if you are actually planning for it, you have the system ready. You can actually use the same system. So it goes back to those previous points, training and all that. If you have multiple system, you have to train the same set of people into different sort of system and they get confused and all that. So if you're having it in one system, that's your advantage. Minimal data entry, minimal training. So which means overall your efficiency is going up, overall your productivity is going up. So your accounting people, their time doesn't needs to be wasted in data entry. If you're having QuickBooks and a disconnected system for your sales or purchase or inventory or something, which means these guys will have to do a lot of data entry into their system. But if they can, if we can save that time, we can actually utilize in some other cool things like we can do some proper budgeting or forecasting and all that things. So I would say if you are looking for an integrated system like which can actually cover almost all your businesses, you should look for an ERP, right? We actually have moved I would say 25 plus customers from QuickBooks to Odoo. Not just QuickBooks, any other system which is just designed for the accounting, because the businesses are growing. I think especially after the COVID days, everyone want a system in place which can be used for all their departments and they can actually talk to each other. So yeah, like again, QuickBooks to Odoo, I would say it's not comparable. It's two different systems designed for entirely different purposes. So if you are looking for a system which can actually be implemented for all your departments or all your key departments, you should look for an ERP.
So Vinod, can you tell us a little bit about maybe a company that you did move them from like QuickBooks to Odoo ERP?
Yeah, so see, there's a lot. It's a long list of customers who moved from just QuickBooks into a proper ERP system, but I'll just use one example. So it's a wholesale business. They're actually supplier to Walmart, Amazon, Target, and all that. So it's a big business. They were just using QuickBooks when we initially, had the conversation started with them, and they wanted an ERP system because they're dealing with this big inventory, all those sales, EDIs, and all that, which wasn't there in QuickBooks. So we had the conversation going. We actually moved them over from QuickBooks to Odoo. There is one thing which is like key to notice in this topic is like how you do that transition. That is like, if you're thinking of like stop using QuickBooks on a day and then switch over to Odoo next day, that's not ideal. That's not fair to the users either because they used to do QuickBooks. And they need some time to verify the data, the reports and all that. So this customer, they actually moved from QuickBooks to Odoo. And the only system they were having is QuickBooks and some in-house developed systems. So when they moved to Odoo, all their accounting data has been moved over to Odoo. And then for a period of time, they actually used both the systems, QuickBooks and Odoo. did the transactions on both the systems, make sure the reports and everything is coming out right. So eventually, not eventually, in a couple of months, they dropped QuickBooks, completely moved over to Odoo. They've been using Odoo for the last 5 or 6 years, successfully using it. They're still a customer for us. We still do, more works for them, like more integrations, EDIs and all that, because, as I said, businesses are growing, especially after COVID.
You mentioned that they had some inbuilt, home-built systems that they were working with. What made Odoo the right fit for them? Were they able to move those systems into Odoo, or?
Yeah.
Okay, so did they already fit within Odoo, or was it something that required development?
Okay. See, most of the things that they were actually doing outside QuickBooks is one, their inventory, which was just an Excel sheet. And then they were using some internal scripts to do the EDI. And they also had some custom reports built internally using standalone systems. So it was most like scripts written which performs different sort of things. None of the system talks to each other, so it was all manual data entry and all that. So when we implemented Odoo, some of the Odoo modules took over what they were doing, like without any customization, coding or anything. Some of those functionalities like EDIs, you need to connect to different EDIs. So each EDI partner will have their own EDI specifications.
Real quick, what is an EDI again?
Okay, so an EDI stands for Electronic Data Interchange. So basically, there is two ways you can actually connect to an external system. One is EDI, which is kind of a generalized format, and the other one is called an API, Application Program Interface. EDI is more like, you generate files in a specific format and share it with the other partner. API is like you connect to their system, push and pull data. So EDI we had to develop for this particular customer, but most of the other things, like their purchasing, their inventory and all that, Odoo just was the right fit with out-of-the-box functionalities. It's all about, again, when I say out-of-the-box functionalities, you installing Odoo and expecting Odoo to work the way you need is not the ideal. You need to configure the system to how you want it to be. So once you configure that system, put in all your data and all that, that's it. It do the job for you. So for this customer, yes, it actually replaced all the other system they were using. Recently, we were doing some forecasting module for them. So with that, even that Excel part which they were using is in Odoo now. So all the systems they were using, apart from their website, is now in Odoo.
How has their processes changed? You said it's been a couple of years now.
Yeah.
What kind of response are you getting from them? They're still working with Confianz? So.
Yes. Yeah. They're still working with us. Again, as I said, it's been more than 5 years they've been with us. So how they are benefiting from the system is, see, number one, if you have an in-house developed application or tool or something, maintaining that thing is a difficulty. One of their IT, not one of their IT head, like their IT head, he was the master brain behind all these, custom applications, scripts and all that, like a great guy. And, it was getting to a point where he needs to be there for everything. Like he wasn't getting time for, their IT planning and, their future plannings, their purchases and all those sort of things, because he plays multiple roles, in that company. So he was tied up, in maintaining the systems. And if he's actually out of the office, it's a tough time for others. So it was, for him to take a vacation, he was having a tough time when they approached Confianz. Now that we have a system, we have it trained for all their employees. So he can take a breath now. He can actually focus on other critical things, and the system runs, off its own. And then, yeah, it is a great benefit to their company. They're planning about bringing more and more stuffs into the system.
So Vinod, you mentioned that this company had an IT team and somebody in particular who was doing everything.
Yeah.
What about a company that does not have an IT department or anybody who's kind of that savvy in tech?
All right. So, out of all those ERP implementation we did, I would say 20% of them had an IT department. The remaining 80, they never had an IT department. It was all about their daily operations and people who's actually fitted into those roles. So it's not a necessary that you need to have an IT department to have an ERP system running in your business. If you have one, they can better coordinate it. They can actually connect with all other departments, make sure they attend all those meetings where they needs to be and all that. So it's more of that coordination. And when you're actually in that implementation phase, they can ask the right questions like hosting and the security and all that. But not having an IT department is not at all a problem. The important part is you need to identify the right partner, right? If you are actually picking someone who's just good in implementing Odoo, then probably you should have an IT department. If you're finding a partner who can really be your IT partner, they can actually take care of all these things. They'll have people in the right seat who can take care of the hosting, the security part of it, the monitoring part of it, the support part of it. So if you have a right partner who can actually take over your implementation and infrastructure when it comes to the IT, then you don't have to worry about setting up an internal IT department. You just implement an Odoo, have it to the right partner, set a contract with them, support long-term contracts, and get rolling.
Thanks for watching today. Join us next time for part 3 of Unlocking Odoo, where we'll be discussing how scaling with Odoo can improve your own customers' experience and encourage growth.